One rebellion that William faced during his time as King of England, or a series of rebellions, I should probably better say, the rebellions in the north. Now I'll let you decide how serious they were, but there were three separate rebellions. The first rebellion in the north was when the new Earl of Northumbria, Cospatrick, who had bought his earldom from William was quite susceptible to money, decided he'd had enough and wanted to rebel. It's probable that he refused to force his Northumbrians to pay the taxes which William was demanding. Anyway, he joined up with Edgar the Atheling, who'd obviously got fed up of being a nobody at William's court, and they and the rebels took York. However, William, in typical fashion, rushed north and the rebels melted away, using what became quite familiar Fabian tactics, only fighting when they had the definite distinct advantage, and when there was a chance of a pitched battle with a force which might be superior to them, they faded off. So off they went, and William, in Gospatric's place, because now he and Edgar had fled to Scotland, put a Norman in charge of Northumbria called Robert de Comines. He didn't last very long, because his men were quite rapacious. They went in with hobnailed boots. They ruled with an iron fist. They took what they wanted. They made laws as they wished, and as is typical of Northumbrians, they rebelled and attacked and killed Robert of Comines and his men, burning them alive in the bishop's house. So the rebels went back to York, which is where they always go when they rebel. And again, Edgar and Gospatrick joined them. And again, William marched north, and on the way this time, he had some castles constructed. During this rebellion, Edwin and Morcar had decided that they were going to join in with Edgar and Gospatrick. Clearly, Edwin and Morcar had had enough of being a nobody at William's court. But the building of these castles split Mercia, which is where Edwin and Morcar were based, from the north, particularly a castle built at Warwick. So again, William marched north, again the rebels faded away, and again William reached York, and that was the end of that. And he marched back south again. This time Edgar decided he wanted to have a real go of it, and he realised he couldn't beat William without some outside help. So he appealed to Sweyn of Denmark, yes, the old King Sweyn of Denmark. Sweyn agreed to send over 200 ships, I think 240 ships, with his brother and two of his sons in charge. They landed, Gospatrick and Edgar, and this time Waltheof, the son of Earl Siward, all joined in the rebellion at York. They sacked the castle, killing all the people inside, and again William was faced with rebellion on his hand. But as he began to march north, a man called Edric the Wild also, which we may also mention in another section, rebelled further south, and rebellions fled up all across the country. This was a problem for William. But William marched north, again building castles where he felt that it was necessary. The rebels and the Vikings were split. The rebels held out a little while this time, fighting some minor skirmishes, but in the end they melted away in front of the Norman army once more, leaving the Danes on their own, who retreated back to the Humber where they'd landed from, and William choosing instead to not fight the Vikings, because that could have significantly weakened his army, which he didn't need in the face of such rebellions. Well, William decided he would pay the Danish off, so he gave them some money and the Danes went home. And William had then dealt pretty much with the north, but what he had to do then, what he decided to do, was one final thing, which was the harrying of the north. He decided that every time he goes north, the rebels run away, and they melt back into the countryside or the villages or wherever they've come from, and then as soon as he's turned his back and he's gone back down south, they come out again. So his tactic was to destroy the north, to kill livestock, to burn villages, to kill any men they come across, and women and children for that matter, to just absolutely decimate the north. The harrying of the north was a genocide. It was said to have killed over 100,000 people and laid waste to hundreds of square miles of territory. But it worked.